Hello, this is Deborah Anderson, the Black Woman Animator. Come back to you with another video. And in this video, I have Shawna Mills. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Can you introduce yourself right quick?
Like you said, I'm Shawna Mills. I am a storyboard artist and director on animated TV shows, and I guess I do some indie gaming and animation as well. So yeah, that's who I am. I've been in the industry for 11 plus years now. It's been a while,
Mm-hmm.
and worked at every major studio except maybe like a few Pixar and Blue Skies or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've been around.
That's what's up. So you're from Spanish Harlem. How was it growing up? What is your origin story?
um, yeah, I'm from Spanish Harlem. I grew up with well, I was taken care of by my grandmother. She raised me. Um, and yeah, it was a pretty low income family in the middle of New York City. I got to, I guess, mingle and experience different cultures because of it. So I'm super thankful of my upbringing, even if it was low income. I pay a lot of like my work ethic and all of that to just watching my grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
and she can make like an entire meal out of a dime. She was that
Right.
kind of person, and she was also someone that never said that she couldn't do anything. Like that was not in her vocabulary. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I grew up, and that's where I am. That's how I guess I roll in through life.
What are some of your best childhood memories?
There's a lot of them. I guess the default thing that I always point to about like growing up in New York was the summers. They were hot, sometimes pretty miserable, but running through like our building or having the block parties and stuff like that, where I got to hang out with all the other little kids of the building and some from school. Um, being taught how to ride a bike by an older kid,
Mm-hmm.
things like that, and yeah, theme park stuff with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
She was in the picture, so she got to take us out to a lot of stuff, like what is it, Ride Playland? That was a New York theme park, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Yeah, just a lot of like little fun things like that. Coney Island. Didn't go to Coney Island as much, but yeah, Six Flags, things like that. And just
Mm-hmm.
like fun childhood stuff kind of took us out of like the environment that we had to go back to, which was it was Harlem, it was the hood,
Mm-hmm.
very rough, but we never got to see that. Me and my brothers is who I'm referring to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it was just a lot of family time and filled with like a lot of love and probably some problematic stuff, but like pretty much it
Mm-hmm.
was full of love.
Yeah. So you went to the High School of Art and Design in Lower East Side of New York City, and you had to end up like dropping out. Did you like go get your GED or something?
I didn't drop out of high school. I dropped out
Oh,
of college.
oh, dropped out of college. Okay.
Yeah, so art and design, I actually graduated with I guess it was like an honor, an animation honor.
Oh, nice,
And I was like one of the only, well, I was the only girl up on the stage getting the honor. My grandmother was so proud.
nice.
She made it a point to point that out to me because I usually don't realize that I'm the only girl in situations.
Mm-hmm.
But she did. She pointed that out. But that was a pretty good experience. Art and design was one of those places. Like I felt like it wasn't like a high school that you would see on TV.
Mm-hmm.
It was no cliques. Like I, you can get along. You can be the nerd, the weirdo, over here, but you can like chill out with the, I don't know, like the cool kids, the ones that are a little bit busier with sports or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
there was no clicks, and it was pretty like I pretty much still want to keep in touch with most of the high school kids. Yeah, even now. It was good
Nice.
vibes. Yeah.
It sounds like because I interviewed Kent Powers, who's from Brooklyn, and he said a similar thing, like, you know, that he would be growing up and it's like, oh, that's just my smart friend. It wasn't like you would made fun of for being smart.
No. And if anything, you were kind of celebrated. Like there
Mm-hmm.
was so many interesting, like, yeah, I had like my circle,
Mm-hmm.
like the one I go to where I felt comfortable going to the table at lunchtime
Right.
and hanging out afterwards. But watching them play like Yu-Gi-Oh! I didn't play Yu-Gi-Oh! But I could
Mm-hmm.
sit there all day and just like draw while they play Yu-Gi-Oh! And it
Right.
was just, yeah, it was just kind of like easy.
Yeah. What would you say is your journey in art and animation during your childhood?
Yeah, I drew all the time. Like I had trouble focusing in class until high school. Um yeah, my grandmother knew that I had to go into a place where I could draw all day so I can get tired of it and so I could focus.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise I was just always drawing. And funny enough, that's also another reason why sort of one of the reasons why I kind of like messed up in college.
Mm,
I wasn't accepted into the course of animation that I wanted. And so I was doing like digital arts, whatever that means.
yeah.
And it was like less drawing, less stuff. So I just spent all of my homework time drawing and doing animation and learning it on my own.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, about time that it was like the second semester or second year, it was like, yeah, they were like, yeah, you're gonna have to pay because you're gonna have to stay a little longer. You're
Yeah.
not doing so great. So yeah, I chose to like leave and not have the whole backlog of debt, which
Mm-hmm.
was that's a plus. But
Yeah.
childhood, I would go back to childhood. Um yeah, I drew every day. I drew all the time.
What animation were you interested in that kind of went into you wanting to get into animation?
Mm. Okay, so that's a good question. I did not like animation at first. I thought it was tedious
Mm-hmm.
and until high school. But beforehand, I would always draw like the Looney Tunes. I really liked the Looney Tunes. I liked uh Disney, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Disney, Renaissance. It had its hold on a lot, like all pretty much everyone.
Yes.
Um and I remember Tarzan being one of my favorites at a certain point, and then it became Prince of Egypt. And
Mm-hmm.
they actually got us to go see it when I was in, like, sorta elementary school still, and I remember being so in love and infatuated with, like, every little detail. I would study it, like, I would that's basically what I was doing when I was watching this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, like, I will pause it and just, like, on a frame and just, like, stare at it for God knows how long. Um, but that still didn't make me wanna go into animation. It just made me wanna draw it. And
Right.
so high school was when I went into cartooning animation because they had a, major in our high school.
Mm-hmm.
And my teacher made me like it was like a project, a group
Yeah.
project that we had like a team, and he made me the one that was like overseeing everything. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want that. That was not what I wanted. But I ended up doing it with another animator and we kind of like killed it, and I realized, "Oh, snap, this is actually kind of fun. I like seeing it move. I
Yeah.
wondering how deep I can go with it." It was still tedious and it was still annoying, but yeah, it got me here. So
Yeah, that's what I tell people. Like, all animation is tedious. It's like, what tediousness do you like or can deal with? because when I was in college, I kind of went to the 3D animation route, and I BS'd like I waited till like my junior year to take the 2D animation class, and then I BS'd my way through it. But 3D was like my thing.
That's funny. Yeah, that's the reason why I wasn't accepted. For some reason, they said I didn't have enough, like, credits or something to
Mm,
take the animation. I'm like, "Okay, well, you do you. Imma still do what I wanna do."
right.
Um, yeah, it was backwards because then I shouldn't have been in there wasting all that money because I still
Yeah.
wasted money, like, what a waste. But in the end, I got some pretty, like, good, experiences with people, and so it's all, like, it matters to me, you know?
Yeah.
It all
hmm
matters.
You mentioned your grandmother several times. Can you go more into your grandmother and talking about her?
Oh, yeah, she was like a force. She's
Mhm.
basically the reason why I pretty much do everything that I'm doing, you know?
Mhm.
Like, you know how you can imagine, like, a kid drawing a stupid picture and be like, "Look at grandma." You know, that
Yeah.
was basically me even towards when I got into animation. Because like, right
Mhm.
after I got out of college, I ended up doing, like, just indie stuff. I
Yeah.
wanted to up my game in animation, and so I started to kinda, like, take commissions, but I made it super cheap. So I did commission, like, shorts of people's original characters for, like, 25 bucks. Paid
Mhm.
25 bucks, and I would just, like, kill out, like, this intro shot, right?
Yeah.
And so I would just kinda, like, do that to kinda, like, get a reel or, like, a portfolio kinda, like, started, and also just get my bearings in animation and
Yeah.
animating something that looks good, that
Yeah.
you can, like, you know, use or it looks polished, right?
Mhm.
And so during that time, I started to get work and I got one of my first gigs at it was a freelance gig at Titmouse.
Mhm.
And yeah, even around that time, I remember going and the first time I made something move, I ran into the back of the house because at the time I lived with my grandma,
Mhm.
millennials.
Yeah.
So so and I would just like, "Nana, I made it move." And she, like, always reminded me of that
Yeah.
ever since then. She was like, "Yeah, every time you had, like, something, like, you made, like, a new leap, there was always something,
Yeah.
that you wanted to show me." And it
Mhm.
was, like, the most important opinion that I could get. So, she's no
Right.
longer with us, so it's a little hard to talk about her.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, 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 it's fine.
Mhm.
I'm just happy that I could, like, shed some light on how awesome she was.
Yeah. Like with all that you said, what would you say is your cultural makeup? And that's not to say what's your ethnicity, but what is the culture of where you grew up and the uniqueness of where you're from?
Spanish Harlem, yeah, it was just like a mix of different cultures every turn of the corner. And while my grandmother and my family directly, we are, like from Chicago and Georgia, so like typical what you would think of when you think of Black America.
Mhm.
And we have like my nephew, yeah, with his dad Puerto Rican, so he's Afro Latino.
Mhm.
um and I feel like, yeah, like my cousin, she's West Indian, so like there's a mixture of stuff that I kind of like. Oh, and my godmother and god sister and brothers, Jamaican, so it was kind of like, just again, it was a turn of a corner every time. Like, you would just kinda, like, turn a corner and you would hear, like, Motown,
Yeah.
you would hear Rasta, you would
Mhm.
hear, like, reggaeton, you would hear, like, the old, like, Cuban music and things like that all at once. It was like, yeah, so I don't know, it was rich,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the stuff, and it's set in the middle of New York where all of it is all the kids that you meet and stuff will teach you what like what certain words mean without even knowing they're teaching you it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty diverse, I guess.
Um, is there a funny story your family tells about you that you would like to share, or too funny?
Why would I tell you?
All right. I was about to say, or is it too embarrassing to share?
Oh man, I mean, I could tell you a story. It might make me sound crazy as a kid, but so maybe this is not the right story. I think I told it to somebody and they were like, "Oh, you was a little violent girl." I wasn't. Yeah, I was. Actually, I was. I was a little fighter.
Gotta lean in.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna lie. My brother, both of my brothers were like the very one was very like crybaby-ish,
Mm-hmm.
and the youngest one was more like me to where we would like get in tussles and stuff.
Yeah.
But I would always like stand up for them, like
Mm-hmm.
that's where I came in. But
Mm-hmm.
so there was a little boy that I liked, and I remember and I remember my grandmother and his mom were talking, and it was in the playground. It was like the playground area, and if you know like how New York playground areas are, they're
Mm-hmm.
just asphalt. People
Yeah.
can come in when school is not ready, in session or whatever, and play basketball. This is like different ages,
Right.
so like we leave things behind, like broken glass, all this stuff. And I like this. I like the little boy, and his mom was talking to my grandma, but the whole time that she was talking to her, I was chasing Taekwon. That's his name is Taekwon. And I was chasing Taekwon with broken glass for fun. And I don't remember, I feel like I might have scratched him or something, but
Mm-hmm.
I was like having fun. I was just having fun chasing him. La, la, la. And yeah, I remember his mom was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna call the cops on you," and then I stopped. But from then on, it was kind of like he really liked me a lot too. It was weird. Like he's no matter what kind of weird shit I would do to him, he would really like he fell in love with me. I don't know. And so
You got the juice.
that's the juice, the crazy psychotic juice. But yeah, that
That's
was
funny.
one story.
Like the only fight I've ever been in, uh I was younger. I was like maybe 7 or 8 or 9, and my cousin made me do it. Like, and I won, but like I was at my grandma's house, and the next door neighbor, like she was doing something, and my boy cousin, didn't want to like beat her up, so he was like, "Oh, you beat her up," and I did, and then I won. That's like the only fight I've won, the only fight I've had. So I don't be trying to test if I can fight in my adult life. I would give a valiant effort, but I don't know. So
That's funny. That's still
um
pretty good. That's a good story.
100%.
That's
Like,
street cred right there.
so this is the part where I list projects that you've worked on, just so the viewers can know that there's like a Black person that worked on some of the stuff we watch. I know like everything isn't on IMDb because not everything makes it to film, or it just doesn't make it to IMDb. So, but Black Dynamite, Guardians of the Galaxy, Star Wars Rebels, Ben 10, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Reign of the Supermen, Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Invader Zim, Enter the Florpus, The Death and Return of Superman, Fast and Furious Spy Racers, Solar Opposites, Karma's World, Rick and Morty. What else is missing or wrong?
You already got Star Wars. It was like that was the highlight just because it
Mm-hmm.
was one of those bootleg, not bootleg. What, what the heck am I saying? I said bootleg. Um
Like the offshoot, like,
no, 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 no. I was gonna say boot camp. There we go. Like it
oh.
was boot camp. Bootleg.
I was trying to help you out. I was like, I don't know what you're trying to
Bootleg.
say.
Bootleg janky janky. Yeah, no. It was one of the tougher ones, and
Okay,
then yeah, so like it kind of prepared me for a lot more, and it just felt
nice.
like yeah, I needed it. I needed to get whipped into shape. So
Which ones are your like favorite projects?
I think it's the people that makes
Mm,
the project for me,
right.
and I think that the current show that I just started or just jumped off of directing,
Mhm.
which I can't name, but it's at
Right.
Nickelodeon, and that's where I was, until recently. I just jumped off of it,
Mhm.
but that one is my favorite. I think, yeah, the people so far are super
Mhm.
great, and I
What are
really
the
love
dynamics
working
that
with
make it
this.
like great of the people?
Um, everyone is so good, like, just good at what they're doing, and competent people, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, you'll find situations where not everybody's gonna be competent. And I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the ones that are, they made me wanna stay, you
Yeah.
know, when things got tough.
Yeah.
So and I think that means a lot. I think that, I woulda said Star Wars, at Lucas mainly because of that too. Like, I really liked the storyboard artist there a
Mhm.
lot. I like the relationships and with the artists, but
Mhm.
yeah. So far, this current one was the highlight, mainly because even on the supervising level, it just felt very like I was learning, I was getting something from this,
Mhm.
even as a director and I'm working with the artists or uh in the production team as well, like I felt like I was getting something out of it from them, so I was, like, open to learning and stuff, so to
Yeah.
me, that's important because if I'm not learning anything, I get bored and I'm like, I'll start drifting away somewhere."
Mhm.
Um, yeah, just people.
So, what would you say you love about animation and like even throughout your journey of your different relationships with animation from childhood to, being a professional to being a director? Like, what do you love?
I like or I love, I
You
would
can
say
only like animation if you want.
huh?
You can only like animation if you want. Like,
I mean, like, there's things I like and I love,
mhm,
but there's also things that I am totally over. I'd rather be drifting off on an island somewhere. Like, that's
right.
another part of me that I guess I'm not talking about, but
Hmm.
for me, I could also just go indie, you know what I mean? Like, that's
Right.
another thing, it's not just about the industry for me.
Right.
So but what I love about the industry, besides the people, and I don't even think that it's, like, the finished product, I really like the collaboration. I
Hmm.
really like it,
Hmm.
and the excitement that I get when I see, like, boards, or shot choices or, like, something kinda getting through because it's still an art piece and you wanna communicate with the viewer.
Yeah.
When something is getting through and it's making someone feel something, like, I love that stuff. I like talking without having to verbalize it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing with my art.
Hmm.
But other than that, I could disappear off into an island somewhere and never speak to anyone again. Like, I could do that too.
You got levels. You multidimensional.
Yeah, yeah.
um I saw like a video on YouTube of you in Manhattan in Columbus Circle doing like Violator Union live art. Like, what were you trying to accomplish with that? What was that?
Oh, yeah, that was fun. And that's exactly what I was, trying to, accomplish. Just having some fun and
Nice.
drawing in public.
Mhm.
If anything came out of it, it would have been fine, but,
Mhm.
like, I like looking at it, and I remember, like, the thrill because again, I was also, like, a wallflower growing up
Yeah.
and probably, like, later in, like, childhood, And so I would get nervous, like anxiety, talking and just communicating with people.
Mhm.
So when I started, that was actually the video was taken around the time that I was starting to step out and kind of like try to be
Yeah.
more social and like meet people, because otherwise I would just be in my room drawing. And
Yeah.
I made some friends. So I like looking back at that and like seeing people that I still care about
Mhm.
and I still respect. And I think that they were there to support me. And
Mhm.
to me, that was like super huge. And yeah, I would do that again, honestly.
Mhm.
And I don't, it wasn't like I announced it anywhere. It wasn't like I was doing any grand thing or I wanted to have, I don't know, go viral or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
that's not what it was about.
Mhm.
I wanted to connect, and I did.
There's a dude that's on The Voice right now that I used to follow on Instagram, and um he, obviously a singer being on The Voice, but he would go down to Santa Monica Pier. Did I see him in person one time? I don't know, but he would be he would, I think that's the main way he made his money, was like just going on Santa Monica Pier and like singing and getting tips.
Yeah, I could do that. Change my career. Just go and paint in
I
places,
can see it. I can see
giving me
it.
ideas. That's nice, thank you. Shoot, you think I'm joking? The
No, I
next
know.
time you see me
Like in real life, I've been like, okay, at 60, I might just go mute and just stop talking, because I learned how to talk too. Like K through 12, I was like, I just didn't talk that much.
Mhm.
And
It's
now
exhausting.
I just be like, did I mean, I don't know if it was good to learn how to talk, because people don't be listening. So
Mhm. Yeah, like, a lot of the times you don't feel like it's getting through, people
yeah.
misconstrue, and like, "Where did you come from with that conclusion? I said what I said."
Right. Oh
But
yeah, that's the dynamic of like, because you're from the East Coast, I'm from the Midwest, and we're very direct. And people in like, because I lived in the South, and then sometimes people on the West Coast, they're very like talk around the point. They are trying to figure out what we're saying when we're just saying what we actually mean.
dude, that's so annoying.
Yeah, it is.
Tell me about it. And I love it because I married a West Coaster. And that's, like, one of the main things. I'm like, "That's not what I said."
I'm like, you don't have to figure it out. Like I said what I meant. I don't even know how to talk around the point. Like it hurts my head.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost, like somebody wrote that script for them or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
it's just
I don't know
like,
how
how
their
are you
brain works to do that.
misconstruing this?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. A leap and a jump. Well, like what sparked your move to Los Angeles?
Work, 'cause, I was doing all this stuff or trying to do a lot of stuff from home in New York, but it was just not, like, it was a lot of bamboozlers, like, I
Mm.
was a part of, like, a indie gaming development thing over in New York, and I did a lot of stuff for them. I did a trailer for their game all on my own in a couple of weeks. That was when I was on fire. I was doing, like, stuff in weeks when I
Mhm.
was doing, like, yeah, animated videos, like,
Yeah.
animated, like, things that they could use. I did, like, a thing, for, like, musicians, like, ugh, it's crazy. But, yeah, it was just not sustainable, and,
Yeah.
I couldn't even help my grandmother with rent. So, like, when I got here, I, immediately got a job,
Mhm.
and it was more than anything I had made in New York, and I remember the first thing I did was get a credit card and send it. I got a dual credit card, and I sent one to my grandmother so she
Mhm.
could use it. She never did. It was just, like, sitting there. She
Mhm.
refused to. But I was like, "It's there for you.
Right.
Money, money."
Money.
No, it's
Oh,
not even like that, but yeah. "Some
yeah.
money's for you, Nene."
What would you say is your superpower? It doesn't have to be animation related.
I think that I'm really good at understanding. That's I might not always seem like I'm understanding, but I'm like, yeah, no, I'm kind of low key on picking
Mhm,
up stuff, and
mhm,
especially reading people. It's kind of sensitive to the arm hair when it's like
mhm.
reading expressions and stuff.
Yeah.
And so something like that, I feel like is my superpower, um, which goes a long way because really my what I think about when I think about like me being good at art, me being
Mhm,
good at anything I want to do, it's only because I can understand what it is that I need to break down in order to
mhm.
do it. So being able to break it down, you have to understand it, right? Like no genius is a genius if they don't understand. They have
Right.
to like be interested first and then they have to piece it, like with interest. You have to like break it down and piece it together and stuff.
Yeah.
So not saying I'm a genius, but I low-key am. Um
Toot toot, toot your own horn.
yeah,
You've learned how to code, design games, published comic books, wrote scripts, learned a 3D model, 3D print, design clothes, learn, branding strategy and all that stuff. How has learning all of these things made you a better artist and creator?
made me a better artist and creator.
Or a
I
better
will
person?
say that a better person in general. I feel like I'm a jack of all trades
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. And so there's a few things that I'm a lot better at
Mm-hmm.
than others, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish there was more of me. That's all it makes
Right.
me feel. I don't know if it makes me a better artist because if anything, it's taking away. It doesn't take away. It doesn't take away. It just allows me to not spend so much time with my art sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, maybe that's it. Like maybe it's because I'm able to step away from art and go to these other things.
Mm-hmm.
When I come back, it's like it's new to me. It's exciting. So I get to draw and be an artist once again. And
Yeah.
it's usually pretty dope. Like I get to like even now, I know I'm not supposed to say nothing about what I'm doing, but let's just say I'm in development on a thing of my own.
Oh, okay.
And And when I do stuff and all the things that I've learned outside, it
Mm-hmm.
comes back and it just makes this thing awesome. Like the
Yeah.
best thing I could ever make. And I can't show it to anybody. Great.
Right.
But yeah, no, you know, I think that's where it makes me a good artist because then I'm able to just channel and everything
Yeah.
into one spot.
I feel like something that is cool as an artist looking at like dynamic artists, like I can think of you and like one of my students, I'm teaching 3D modeling at one of my students is like from the summer is an artist, and just like seeing y'all the transferable skills of being like dynamic in this one piece of art, and then say y'all go into 3D and it's just like y'all just picking it up and it's just like dang, that's. And so watching your like Instagram posts and stuff like that of you playing around in Blender and stuff, it's just like really cool to watch just an artist kind of tap into different forms of art and just play around with it.
I just like how accessible and like easy certain things are becoming for
Yeah.
us to do as we get older, like all this technology. It's actually pretty exciting. And we're not like too old that we can't get it. We're about to get there.
What is one thing that you failed at and how did you overcome?
I failed. Might get really real because otherwise I don't think I've ever failed anything. I just think it's just another opportunity of
Yeah.
learning.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm still getting over this, but I feel like I failed in taking care of the people that I wanted to take care of in the way
Mm-hmm.
that I wanted to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm still overcoming it. I think
Yeah.
it's a journey
Yeah.
because you got to kind of like realize that you're not able, like you're not super woman.
Yeah.
You're not
Mm-hmm.
You're a human being. And
Right.
sometimes things just are crap. Like things are just going to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like a game and it's not like the end of a fairy tale when there's always a conclusion and there's always like an answer.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's no answer. Sometimes there's just no conclusion. So I'm still getting used to it, used to this idea. I think I drifted through life for a while, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like thinking like everything's gonna be great. And yeah, reality has hit and it's feeling more and more not I feel like you go through moments of hopelessness, but also like it's like a plateau,
Yeah.
situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm getting closer to being kind of like okay with the unknown, like not always having the answer
Yeah.
and not always being correct or
Mm-hmm.
like my vision to always be like a thing that happens. Sometimes your vision of the future won't happen. And that's okay.
Yeah. I understand
So,
that as a recovering perfectionist.
yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. I feel like I'm like 70% delivered from perfectionism. And so letting stuff go, I'm better at than I was in like my teenage and years and 20s and stuff, but still a journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And like what do they say? The best laid plans of mice and men, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that was like basically what keeps going over and over in my head sometimes when I'm like, oh, well, you had these plans.
Right.
Toss that shit out the window. Just
That's what
start
I think
over.
about, sometimes when we're in our 20s and 30s and even older, like, oh, when I was like 17 or 18, I wanted to do this and be this place. And it's like, your 17, 18-year-old self was dumb and didn't know what reality was. So why are you
Mm,
still holding yourself to these standards that a 17-year-old or 18-year-old
mhm.
came up with?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And even now, like at our, I don't know, I'm 30, 30 something,
mhm,
37? Yeah, I'm almost 37. I, I feel like there's an amount of figuring it out that we have to do even at this age that it's
mhm,
like, okay, welcome to the real world kind of stuff, right? Like, because
yeah,
were welcome to the real world in like, I was welcome to the real world in my 20s, yes. But it was still like, there was a bit of like that childhood fantasy
yeah,
element. Like you think that you could do anything, and that's good and it's important for that age.
yeah,
But I think, yeah, now there's an amount of strength that comes from this stage, I guess. I'm still trying to
mhm,
figure it out. That's why I can't put words to it, but
yeah.
I still feel a strength in it.
I feel like my 20s was like, oh, nobody knows what they're doing. Because I feel like as a child, you think, if you think of your parents or any, adults, you're like, oh, they know what they're doing. And it's like, when you get on the other side, like, oh, none of us know what we're doing, but we're still living every day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we were pretty hard on everybody.
hmm so tell us about Soda Monkey Entertainment. Like, what was like the start of that? What do you try to do with that? What is it now?
So that is my company that I basically get to do create projects under. Um it's also another thing that when you are dealing with other companies, studios, for example, with an IP of your own or something like that, you can actually go under your company. So that's how it's functioning now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'll be doing like indie stuff, and I'll always put like Soda Monkey ENT on it because
Mm-hmm.
that's who's doing it. Soda Monkey ENT. And the reason why I chose Soda Monkey, because I was trying to find a way to have like the first initials of my name
Nice,
still
nice.
involved. So, and then I thought, soda sounds very yummy. Monkey sounds fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like even the sound of like the soda can opening and like the monkey, like that's something I put together, and then it just sounds like attractive, you know? It just sounds,
Mhm.
and I think I guess like using the science of advertising, it's important to make sure your brand is delicious.
Yeah. I worked
So
for Turbo Squid, so
yeah, it has to be delicious, like look good
Mhm.
enough to eat. So
Yeah.
that's
So what
basically
are
it.
you what has been the journey like? What are you trying to accomplish with it?
Just indie works. Like I want it to stand on its own and actually have and produce basically I want to be able to produce indie IPs and indie projects through it. Or even if it's just like trailers and stuff, that's
Mhm.
where I would point to.
Mhm.
That makes sense. I don't want to be an animation studio. That is again
Mhm.
too tedious for me.
Yeah.
And I think yeah, if I could, I see what I do for myself. I see what I do for people here and there, and I'm like, yeah, totally. My company and I obviously can do more for people in their IP. Right now, it's not. We're not like taking on anything, but hopefully in the future, um, really making people's IPs stand out for them.
Yeah.
Um, so that they can get it in front of studios if they need to or want to.
Mhm.
I don't even know how important that's going to be in the future,
Yeah.
but to make something stand out for the public in general, if you wanted to, I don't know, put it in front of your YouTube base, you know what I mean? Like we would be able to at least get you like the concepts and everything else that you need to present, you know?
Nice.
So producing that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Um
Like, is it? Are you thinking like pre-production or just what?
So pre-production, yes, I would probably put that in. I wouldn't do post. I don't think
Mhm.
that that's, and like obviously hiring the right kind of people and stuff for that kind of thing.
So like
Um
consulting.
yeah, I feel like
Mhm.
more of a consulting, this is what we can do for you in order for you to get to this point, but
Mhm.
like I am where I am for a reason. I am developing stuff for a reason, and I am good at making pitch Bibles. So,
Nice.
yeah. I see people doing like pitch Bible classes. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. But like knowing that I'm a black girl, a black woman, knowing
Mhm.
that there's tons of other black people, black women, men, and people of color who have like these ideas in general, right? I feel like we have to step up. We can't just be on the same, we have to make sure our stuff stands out like compared to everyone, right? We
Yeah.
have to go do the max basically. And
Mhm.
that's basically what I do all the time. So it's like I don't just stop at like a one pager and all that.
Yeah.
Um yeah, but they're fun doing those, like bringing concepts to life almost like
Yeah,
uh,
because it's like going to the
producing.
expert. Because with the classes, it's like, okay, you're learning to do it yourself, but why not give it to an expert to do and take it to the next level?
Yeah. So I mean, in due time, obviously, because I am pretty swamped, but
Mhm.
that's the goal.
Yeah.
That would be super awesome. I would love to do that soon, but yeah, I know that for a fact we need to have a portfolio that we can show the
Mhm.
public before we do that. So it's coming.
Look forward to it.
Yeah.
Um. So with Boom Tag X, can you talk about that story?
Yeah, sure. So it's a story that I created um with like characters based off of like electronics originally.
Mm-hmm.
And it focuses on like this kid that doesn't have he's mute. He's a mute boy, but he's a boombox boy. He's not supposed to be mute.
Mhm.
And so a lot of the times he's been floating around life without like being heard and whatnot. In the story, however, he wishes he wishes for a voice that can be heard. So he joins like this competition, and in doing so, he gets kind of like trapped in this game of tag where everyone's trying to get him using
Mhm.
sound and light, basically.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's just his journey into finding his own voice, which has always been there,
Yeah.
but it's been like, oh, I don't want to give that away.
Yeah.
Yeah, this whole thing is on hold, so
Mhm.
it's like I have to do other things before I ever get back to it.
Right.
But yeah, it's a musical. It's like
Nice.
a music based kind of battle action adventure.
Mhm.
So yeah.
So again, your character Boom is a character that represents the unheard. What are ways that you felt unheard in your life and career?
Um, Plenty. You know, even being a director and stuff, you still have moments where you're like, I literally just said that, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know if it's because I'm not like a big I don't go out of my way to just make sure everybody hears me, you know?
Mhm.
I like to listen a lot more than I talk. That's why I know so many people's secrets.
Mhm.
And um but because of that, I think that like when I do speak up, there's people or like yeah, people, I would just say it, like assholes that tend to want to like either overtalk or try to like prove me wrong. Or I'm like, no, I literally have the answer right here. And then
Right.
they want to try to like debate me on something. And I'm like, unheard, unheard, you know,
I feel like that needs to be your merch. Like, just have unheard on.
unheard.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I was literally, oh my God, don't get me started on the clubhouse thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's a lot. It's so many people that want to have like an authority on something. I remember joining something. It didn't have like a lot of people in it,
Yeah.
but it was like, how can we make the or how can we get the progress in the black community? Something like that. It was about progress.
Yeah.
And so it was only one person in there, and I chimed in. I was like, like using advertisement and things like that because this is my expertise. I
Right.
was like giving them a little bit of my thoughts about using like the right colors and things like that. It didn't come out of the blue. It was like being able to manipulate
Yeah.
using design and things like that because that's technically what we're doing. We're manipulating the viewer.
Mhm.
And even with music, you're manipulating the mind, right? And geez, the dude wanted to debate me, and everybody who came in wanted to debate me on it. Like instead of just Googling what the damn science is behind, I don't know, like McDonald's using red and all the damn eating or beverage companies using red in their designs is like for a purpose. There's a reason,
Yeah.
like there's a science behind all of it. But everyone today wants to debate and kind of like just prove you wrong, or I guess like they want
Yeah.
to, yeah. And I'm not interested in it, so I just was like, peace. You guys don't deserve to learn anything. I hope
Mhm.
you stay in the ditch you are, and you know what I mean. Stay there.
Yeah.
Like I literally will leave people in a ditch. You don't want to know it. That's fine.
You
That's
you
cool.
doing the Harriet Tubman. like
Oh yeah,
like
that's right.
there's
You did do
there could have
that.
been so many more that have been saved, but they didn't come. So like, all right,
They wanted to
try.
stay. You guys, all right, bye. I came back like 7 times. You see, I'm those people aren't with me. You think I'm just handing I'm telling you.
The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, you could be one of the people that's saved. I don't know.
Yeah,
But yeah,
people
I
don't.
guess I
People
am.
really don't want to be saved. Sometimes they just want to complain.
Yeah. That's another thing too, right? If you don't, and then like, what's the point of that? What? Okay, you complain. Now what? What do you want from me? Like, you want me to just say yes?
Yeah,
Yes. And then I'll like sit there and wait for you. Yes. And what else? Like, I don't know, man. People are weird. So I'm pretty much done with trying to teach people because that's not my job. You
right.
know, if I want to teach people, it would be through my work and the people who can understand the language in my work. You know what I mean? That's where I'm
Mhm.
coming from. I no
Mhm.
longer am going out of my way to do it in the most exhausting way possible, which is
Mhm.
verbally. That is
Yeah.
exhausting for me. So,
Yeah. The best thing that one of my college friends kind of taught me recently, because there's this thing of like being intelligent and wanting to share your intelligence, and like like nobody listening, but and then you got go through this thing of like, then what's the point of being smart? Like, and so something that my friend Kellen told me was like, being smart is not for other people, it's for you. Like, it
mhm.
helps you navigate through the world in a more intelligent way, but it's not necessarily for other people and not necessarily to be shared all the time. So I was like, that's bars. Like, 'cause-
Yeah, that's a good bar because I do find myself being like, I hate being smart. I hate being like common sensical,
Mhm.
and I hate I hate it because you notice everything,
Yeah.
and I wish I was stupid.
Ignorance is bliss. That's why
Yeah.
that's a phrase.
Yeah. You ever looked at somebody who was like, I wish I was stupid too. I wish I was dumb. Jeez. Seems nice.
Yeah, such is life.
Yeah.
So your work is inspired by you say your work is inspired by Spanish Harlem, anime, graffiti, and music. What are the various ways that plays out in your work? Like, how does how your work comes out? How can we tell that that's what's inspired in your
Mhm.
art?
The energy.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the times, like when I would draw a line, I would be listening to something crazy or like high energy.
Mm-hmm.
This is in the past, so like my lines were always a little bit more like very scratchy and like it was the energy. It was almost like I was dancing on paper, you
Mm,
know?
nice.
Yeah, with my arms and everything. I had the energy was like dun, dun, to the beat,
Mm-hmm.
And I think now I don't really play music. I don't play music enough when I'm working.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I should go back to it because I do miss like having the energy. But Spanish Harlem, just the colors, even when I was in poverty, like I was not poverty. That's weird to say. It was low income. Is
Mm-hmm.
that poverty? That still be poverty. I don't know.
Depending on how
Whatever.
low.
I don't want to coin it for myself if it's not true. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like we were definitely fed and bathed. It was fine. But
Yeah.
the but still, yeah, it was still like Spanish Harlem though, and it was like the hood. So yeah, it was like you're in a space where like drug dealers and all sorts
Mm-hmm.
of you see a gun over there in a bush like randomly. It was
Mm-hmm.
pretty tough,
Mm-hmm.
but even then, it was always like something interesting and colorful. And I remember like the music being played. It was always something happening to kind of like titillate the senses.
Yeah.
And I think with my work and the things that I like when I go traveling, I'll see certain things or I'll not be impressed by a city because it doesn't have enough life, you know? Um, but I think New York has conditioned me
Mm-hmm.
and music has conditioned me and all of my tastes from the past have conditioned me to kind of like hold that standard even for my work and what I see out in the world. So
What do you feel is the importance of incorporating your culture in projects when given the opportunity?
it's pretty important because that's who I am. I think, if I'm writing or creating a story about a little white boy from suburbs and he's saying dead ass and all that, like, I don't know that life. And it's weird that they are saying that now,
Mhm.
by the
Mhm.
way,
Mhm.
and they're
I just
calling
had
it.
somebody from New York City say that, like, on Wednesday, that they were, like, weirded out by people saying dead ass. Like
Yeah, everybody that's not even New York, like, and it's such an old, like, thing, it's not even
Mhm.
new, and they're all saying it now. I think I heard a Irish kid say it in Ireland on YouTube, and
Mhm.
I was like, "Huh." Like, how am I supposed to feel about that? Because if I were to say it now, those same kids would say, "You're old, you shouldn't be saying it." But
'Cause
I'm like,
they adopted as Gen Z language as opposed to what it is.
right, they're also adopting it as, internet culture instead of Black American culture, Black New York American culture,
Mhm.
right? Like, 'cause, like, the terminologies that we can get from, like, Detroit, my friend had to
Mhm.
tell me, "Yeah, we say this," and I'm like, "Oh, I never said hella until I got to, Oakland,"
Mhm.
and people start making me say hella. It's kind of like, yeah, that's the kind of thing, you know, the nuance there is kind of important.
Mhm.
And I think that is so interesting, and that's why I think it's important to have it in media, and I think having, like, just the Black experience in America and how, like, diverse it is
Mhm.
so interesting, and it's so missed out on.
Yeah.
And why can't we just tell those stories and then also give light to, like, how different we are to each other?
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's a story that's not told, and I think
Yeah.
telling a good story is always important. But in order to do that, you kinda have to think out of the box, you have to be, like, open to different kinds of, characters and you just like the differences in people. You have to shed light on these things. You can't just ignore it and just, like, I don't know, color a white character black and
Right.
call it a day. So, I think
Yeah.
the culture is important.
What I've come to is that, you know, Black American culture is not seen as a viable culture. So in the past, 3 years, I've tried to like make sure in my personal life that I tout it as a viable culture. And so I feel like as Black Americans, sometimes we're so kind of judged and all that stuff. So when we try to do projects, we'll try to do a Caribbean story or an African story, and it's like so many
Yeah.
Black American stories that go by the wayside because our stories are not important even to us sometimes.
Thank you. I agree with you, and we are on the same page. Mainly because I was thinking about that just, like, the other day too, right? Like, just
Hmm.
how, because I think it was my brother or somebody had said, and they're Black, and they were like, um, "What did we ever really contribute? Everything that we contributed has been toxic." And they only pointed at hip hop and some curse words or some shit, I don't know. But the fact is they totally missed out on everything else that we've contributed as, like, a people, and I consider us a tribe.
Right.
I consider us yes, maybe a new tribe, a new type of people
Hmm.
with origins elsewhere, but we are a legit people. And I
Hmm.
think, like, our culture, the fact that we can't, like, I think I was talking to a friend of mine, she's Chinese Canadian,
Hmm.
and I was pointing out that, we can celebrate Chinese
Hmm.
and we can celebrate Indian
Hmm.
parades, we can do all the parades and all that stuff and say this is their culture. But when it comes to our culture, it's like we are almost asking for forgiveness
Yeah.
for something. And I'm like, even in the fact that if I were to say this is a Black thing or a
Hmm.
African American thing, there's going to be some pushback and saying that it's racist.
Hmm.
But they
Hmm.
won't do that on the same note, on the same coin of, like, any other culture. So
Yeah.
that's the proof there that it's like you said, it's not being counted as viable. So,
Hmm.
and we have to just ignore it and just keep
Yeah.
going. It's like, I don't care about your feelings. Like, let me tell the story of my people. What is this?
There's this dichotomy that, that we don't have culture, but also our culture affects the world, even Africa. So it's like, what?
Yes.
Oh my God, there's people that have on like do rags and like, doing a lot of stuff that comes from, New York City, the big cities. It's just like, but y'all keep saying we don't have culture, and then you give the agency to Caribbean people who was on the same boat.
Yeah.
So how do they
Yeah.
have a culture, but we don't? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. On the same
We
boat.
all got here at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah. But they accept the Caribbean culture over ours,
Hmm.
and when we're talking about it, right? Like if we were to talk about it, and we don't need to break it down. It's like
Hmm.
preaching to the choir right
Yeah.
here. But I just
But
think it's
something that
funny, but I think it is important for
there's
us to.
something that I do like, because I'm one of those that's in the social media comments. So something that I do is when, mostly like white people kind of talk about that Italian Chinese thing. I'm like, what you have to understand is Black is a race and a ethnicity. If you're a Black American that came from, slavery, like it is our ethnicity. Because what would you like me to do with, okay, my last name is Anderson, what country that looks like me does that name come from?
Mm,
Or like when we look up our records, we have to rely on the slave master keeping excellent records of their property in order to go back. So like, what can you tell me, when you, whether you're a white person or like a person, who is from, Africa, like what can you tell me? You can look up your history through your last name, but I can't. So we had to create something new. We were stripped of our cultures and traditions and had to create something new. So what do you want me to do? I'm in a country that I don't even feel a part of. Like I never felt, the most American I felt was when I lived in South Korea and had to say it over and over again. Like, because I couldn't say I'm from, Michigan, or I couldn't say I'm like Black, because what does that mean to them? I'm like, oh, I'm American, and that's the
yeah.
most I've ever felt American. So like my
Hmm.
country don't want me, technically, if you go, full Angela Davis on it. But like what do you want me to do?
It's true. What do you think about because you're saying that we're coining Black as our
Hmm.
new like ethnicity, but
Hmm.
what do you think about like people who are from Africa and they come through and they say, we're not Black, or like Ethiopian, or like I
I feel
forget
like
the
that's
other
like a
that just
very
denies it.
nuanced conversation, because it's interesting. It's I feel like Black Americans just can't win, because it's a very interesting conversation where, you know, we've existed in our country. Like social media has made the world smaller, but we've existed in our country, for all this time. And when we say Black, we know we mean Black American. But like with people on TikTok and all this stuff needing, it just, people are so needy and need more words. And so you got to say like Black American, because somebody else will be like, oh, but that's not the only way Black people experience things. And it's like, context, bro. Like, I'm talking about Black Americans. Like, I don't need to say Black American to like stop. So I just feel like it's
Yeah.
just such a nuanced conversation where like people will say they're not Black, but then they'll call you out for using the term Black, the one that they're not. And so it's like you can't win, to be honest.
Mm,
So because
yeah.
they be Black when they want to be Black, and then they don't be Black when they don't want to be Black. So
Yeah. The way I guess the way I've accepted it too is like if you walk into a room and the racist and the racist says all the Negroes out or all the Black people out,
mm-hmm.
and you think you still gonna stand there? Yeah, okay. But like if you could pass that, then okay,
Mm-hmm.
you could be like whatever. But like even then, it's kind of like hard to it's such a nuanced thing because like
And that's why
my
I say
sister's
Black
like
American, to
yeah.
appease the people, because I'm Black. In 2019, you went to my hometown, Detroit, to teach at the MechaCon Artist Residency Program. How was that experience, and like, what has your experience been being a teacher? I know you did some stuff during the pandemic too, and I'm sure you've done more. But
Yeah, I like I guess giving my knowledge off to people, but kids especially, because I don't know. As I got older, I'm like, oh, oh, no, seriously, I'm like weirdly feeling more auntie than yeah. I'd be an irresponsible auntie, but like, cause
Which
Rita,
the kids would
my
like.
yeah, I'm sure, cause I'm always like, you want monies? Like now I have like I'm able to do that, but yeah, now I'm married. Like, she doesn't want me to do. I
You
don't
got the
trust.
hold on your money. You can't.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just like
Gotta be responsible.
a little bit of monies. um, but yeah, no, I really do. I want, I want like passion to kind of like flow through.
Hmm.
You know, I want the. I wish like they do better jobs than what I'm doing. I don't know. I do want them to kind of like succeed where I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
Cuz like right now I feel super jaded about everything, right? And that
Hmm.
happens with age.
Yeah.
So
The older you get, the more you understand the curmudgeon old people. You like, yeah, life done did. People fail you. Life fails you. I get
yeah,
it.
don't get me started on people.
Right.
But yeah. So I do. The experience was actually very very humbling. I really enjoyed it.
Hmm.
I got excited for the future. It
Hmm.
was a lot of smart kids. Some
Yeah.
of them little asshole trolls, but even them, I saw like a future in
Yeah.
them, like, take that little asshole troll thing that you got and like put it over into something you actually like. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be art. Just do
Right.
something. Yeah, but
Nice.
that's my answer.
As you continue to be in the animation industry, what have you decided is your purpose in regards to blackness and black professionals in animation?
To be myself and to tell stories that I want to tell.
Hmm.
And that's it. Like whether it's of a little white boy in suburbs or because like again, me being who I am is already political enough. It's already like doing what I need to do.
Hmm.
And I want to tell good stories. And that's it. Like anything else would just be I feel like mediocre. It would create a mediocre product.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the stuff you think about like some of the greatest stories that were told or like some of the greatest movies from the past. Yeah, a lot of the times they would have messages here and there and they did a lot, sometimes it was about literally we hate the blacks or we hate the Jewish or we hate the Chinese. Like there's it's messages in there. It's very blatant,
Hmm.
which I think is funny now that everybody's like, "Oh, we don't want messages, but we're fine with the old ones."
Yeah.
Um I think my I don't really feel like I have a no, I don't want to say that I don't have a duty
Hmm.
for blackness. Like but I do have a duty to that little girl that was me.
Yeah.
That's my responsibility. My
Mhm.
grandmother and my mom and her mom and everybody else that did it so much, they're all like it was all work for the future and I was their future.
Yeah.
And at some point when will people actually realize that about themselves?
Yeah.
When they're always talking about the future. They always talking about somebody else later on, but they never try to fulfill their shit
Hmm.
right now. So that's my responsibility to actually do it because then, that's just another score for blackness, I guess, by default.
Yep. What are three movies you'd recommend to my audience and why? It doesn't have to be animation.
Blue
Prefer.
Eyed Samurai is really awesome.
Hmm.
The shot choices, story, just the ambiance and everything. So good.
Hmm.
One of my favorites were Chicago the musical.
Hmm.
It's one of my favorites.
Why do you like that?
And well, I know I always talk about my grandma. But
Mhm.
she took me to see it, and that's when I didn't even wanna see it. Then we went in there, and like, after we came out, I was like, "Oh, yes, oh, yes." Just singing the dance song.
Nice.
It's so good,
Yeah.
the music in it is so good. And then, yeah, like, the set too, like, the choices.
Mhm.
So it's tough because, like, if I was gonna go animation, I already told you, like, Tarzan and
Mhm.
Prince of Egypt, mainly because of like, Prince of Egypt, I still get goosebumps
Mhm.
from the beginning of it, like,
Mhm.
so if anything, that is one of those that I would say everyone needs to watch. It's, like,
Mhm.
such a masterpiece. They really did it, you know, like, they really went in, they knew what they were doing, they knew they had to put all of their talent on it.
Yeah.
Um, and they every little detail, man, like, I remember the, like, the ex what did I like the most? I think it was more like it felt like a music video, right? Like, it was like, "Vroom," in the beginning, and then that's when everything kinda, like, comes up and the visuals come in, you see, like, the pharaoh's face. Oh, so good. I gotta go see it again.
Yeah. You mentioned like liking the sets of Chicago, and when I was with my ex, he's like really interested in operas and plays and theater. So I started going to a lot of those, and like in some of those like operas, the stage, like the way they would move the stage, it was just like, oh my god. If I saw that when I was younger, that I probably would have done that as a career, because the intricacies of like how they use that small stage, but they have to change it to different scenes. I'm just like
Wow.
me being a 3D modeler, it kind of goes into that like building thing. I'm just like amazed at the stage construction, and I'm like, I want to talk to those people.
I love oh my god, you remind me of, when I was on you're, like, fascinated by, like, the intricacies behind the whole process, and that's so funny because I did, like, extra work, so I was, like, an extra on, like, Blue
Mhm.
Bloods. It was a TV show set in New York, and on a break, we were, like, watching, like, the film people, like, the production team or whatever, kinda, like, rearrange equipment and stuff, and
Mhm.
so, like, the other extras was, like, asking me, like, about whether or not I did acting or whatever, because I was kinda cute when I was in my 20s, so they were like, "Why are you here? Why are you not in the front row or some shit?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Nah, I'm actually more interested in that," and I pointed over to, like, them working, and it
Mhm.
was like worker ants kinda, like, doing stuff. Like, I would legit, if I didn't know what the hell it takes to get behind the scenes, I would have probably been there too. I
But now
totally
that you know, you're like, oh no.
yeah, no, they get treated like shit, I'm sorry. I can't join that. I mean, we get
I
it
know
bad
too
too,
much.
but
Ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss.
ignorance.
If someone was producing a documentary about you, what things would you want them to highlight about your life outside of your work in animation?
I think, my relationships with people and, like, my journey, I guess, going
Mhm.
from being super shut in almost,
Mhm.
like, distant from people to actually engaging and trying to do my best and, like, being there and present, and
Mhm.
I think, like, in my 20s, like, me being super focused, hyper focused on my career and, like, not having time for bullshit and being able to see it for what it was made me kinda weird, because I wasn't, like, was a little cold, I was a little cold,
Mhm.
and that I feel like my journey has been, as a person, pretty interesting, if I don't say so myself.
Yeah. So, where can people follow you on social media, websites, all that type of stuff?
Yeah, you can, check me out on The Lazy Mills on Instagram, and I have a bunch of YouTube channels now, but you can also find me on the Lazy Mills channel as well. Like I have that on my YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty much all the channels connected to that or featured. And then so the Monkey ENT.com is another
Mm-hmm.
spot you can, check out anything that's up and coming. I tend to upload reels and stuff, but hopefully soon we'll have like actual news
Yeah.
and I can tell it. So yeah, those are the places. And yeah, that's it. That's the only places.
I feel like actually hearing your story, you calling yourself the Lazy Mills is even more hilarious because you're like the opposite of lazy, it seems like, but maybe that is still your truth.
I am okay, so like that is an actual art name that I got in college because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't want to do the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's an amount of laziness there, but then the other part of me, I see myself as dual entities sometimes. So it's like
Yeah.
the one that doesn't want to do the work, the one that basically wants to go off into the island and do absolutely nothing,
Mm-hmm.
disappear. And the other one is like, there's things that have to be done.
Yes.
And I'm the only one that can do it. Woe is me. Okay, let's go. Let's clean the hands. Let's go.
So I want to thank you for allowing me to highlight you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Honestly, this has been fun.
And to everyone out there, I want you to like so I know it's real, comment and tell me how you feel, subscribe to Citadel, and sign up for post notifications to show your zeal. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.